Alright, hello guys, and welcome to our second edition of our winter thoughts for the winter of 2020 to 2021. I'm going to be updating you guys on this very frequently. You guys love this type of content typically, so I'm going to keep bringing it to you guys as long as you enjoy it. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, what are your predictions for this winter? If you had any early thoughts, it's very early on, but let me know what you guys think this upcoming winter could be like in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video, which I think is going to be about this hurricane season, so that one's going to be very exciting to talk about as well. Now, in today's video, we're not going to be making any predictions. The only thing we're going to do is show you guys what the models are saying, and also we're going to talk about a typical La Nina pattern, because that's what the models are trending towards. So we're going to have to talk about what a La Nina would mean, because we're going to be tracking the ENSO throughout the year to see where that's going to line up for the wintertime. But in the meantime, all we can do is talk about what this could possibly mean for the wintertime on average. So here's what this would typically mean. We would have a jet stream here, one single merged jet stream that merges over the Pacific Ocean that brings the cold air to the north of it and also the moisture along it. So that's going to head into the Pacific Northwest, head down south of the Rockies, and then back up once it reaches about the Ohio Valley and the Great Plains, and it goes straight through the Great Lakes, cutting in before it ever reaches the East Coast. This is a very typical La Nina pattern, and this is also what the models and what I personally think could be the potential outcome for this upcoming winter. All right, now for the rest of the video as we move on, we're going to be talking about what this typical pattern would mean as far as precipitation, temperature, and snowfall. Alright, and first things first, this is where the below average temperatures would be in a typical La Nina pattern. We would see some below average temperatures there for the Pacific Northwest, and then through the Rockies, into the Midwest and the Great Plains, and then back up through the Great Lakes. That's where the heart of the cold would be during a La Nina winter, a typical La Nina winter. It would actually be very potent cold typically for the northern United States, but really the southern United States, not really seeing too much of that. As we move on to the above average temperatures, you can see this is where we would typically see warmer than normal conditions during a La Nina winter, and you can see for the south central, southeast, and basically the entire east coast, we would be looking at warmer than normal temperatures throughout this entire region. Now, I know a lot of you are probably disappointed by this, but keep in mind, I'm just showing you what a typical La Nina would look like. First off, this doesn't mean that a La Nina would always be like this. Second off, we're definitely not sure of if we're going to be in a La Nina or not. This could be an El Nino, a neutral ENSO, or a La Nina winter. It's only slightly leaning towards a La Nina at this point. We're really going to have to move forward and see what happens with it. There is still some models that are trending towards a neutral or a El Nino winter. Alright, now we're about to move on and talk about what this could mean for precipitation as well. And then also we're going to get into the snowfall for La Nina as well. Alright, and here we are, we're taking a look at the precipitation, what would typically be expected during a La Nina winter, and you can see since this is a merged jet stream, the colder than normal conditions will be to the north of it, but also most of the above average precipitation will be around this jet stream or to the north of it. So we see the Pacific Northwest would have above average precipitation in a La Nina winter. Also, the Rockies would most likely have an above average precipitation winter. Also, the Plains, the Midwest, and then also especially the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley could be looking at a big above average precipitation winter. So this would be typically what we would see during a La Nina winter, very typical pattern. And this is the crazy part. We have not had a typical La Nina winter in a very long time. I think it's actually been since like 2010, so it's been quite a while. There might have been one or two in there since then, but really we haven't seen a very typical La Nina winter in a pretty long while. We've been dealing with a lot of El Ninos, and the fact that we could have a La Nina is very interesting because it's been quite a while, like I said before. Alright, now we're about to move on and talk about where we could have some below average precipitation throughout the United States if we had a La Nina, and then also we're going to get into that snowfall anomalies for a typical La Nina as well. All right, and as you can see, since that jet stream stays pretty far north, and that's pretty much the only jet stream that would be happening in a La Nina typically, we would definitely be looking at below average precipitation for the entire southern half, or I guess southern fourth of the United States, but especially there for California. We typically have very, very dry conditions in a La Nina, and also the southeastern United States. In El Nino winters, we have tons of precipitation for the south central and southeastern United States. In a La Nina, it's the exact opposite. We see very dry conditions because that southern jet stream doesn't really become a factor during the winter. So we don't see a lot of southern sliders. We do not see a lot of nor'easters. It's a lot of those storm tracks that stay very far north. They head in through the Pacific Northwest, they impact the Rockies, and then they cut northward in the Great Lakes, and we usually see very big winter storms for the Rockies and the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes as well. And that's what I would expect in a La Nina winter typically. All right, now let's get into that snowfall anomalies during a La Nina. And this can really fluctuate, but typically we would be dealing with above average snowfall for a lot of the areas that obviously we saw above average precipitation and below average temperatures. So the Pacific Northwest, Rockies, Midwest, Great Plains, Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley, with below average snowfall there for California, especially down through the southern four corner states, Texas, Louisiana, the southeastern states, and the entire East Coast would typically be looking at mostly below average snowfall there for that southern and eastern corners of the United States, with again the above average snowfall being for the Northwest, and then in general the North Central United States, seeing typically most of that snowfall during the season. All right, now that we've gone over the average or La Nina pattern, I'm in the future videos, if you guys like those graphics, let me know in the comments down below if you like the graphics I just showed. I could do some for neutral, ENSO, and also La Nina, or any other teleconnection that is, and just kind of show you guys as we do these winter thoughts videos. I could do more stuff like that if you guys enjoy that type of content. So we're about to move on now that we've shown the typical La Nina, and we're going to take a look at what the models think as far as the ENSO, also give you guys an update on what they're thinking as far as the temperature forecast, the precipitation forecast, and also we're going to go over NOAA's very, very initial thoughts for this winter as well. All right, and here we are, and this is a graph where we can take a look at what the individual JAMS Tech models are thinking for this winter as far as the ENSO is concerned, and you can see that the graph goes further and further south as time goes on. We see that dashed line there. We see the one on the very right is for approximately April of 2021. The second to the very right is for January 2021. Then the third to the right is October of 2021, and then the one that pretty much we're at is April. We're in between April and July, those dashed lines there. Each individual line is a different model, and you can see they pretty much go all over the place with it. So again, don't get your hopes down just because you see that I'm thinking we could have a La Nina. Really, it's a very, very up in the air type of thing. We do have a lot of them showing a neutral ENSO and also an El Nino, which would be pretty much the opposite of those graphics I showed before. We have a lot of time to figure out what's going to happen here. I'm very excited to go over it with you guys month by month and just watch it progress as we get more information about what's upcoming. The red and purple lines are actually our mean average for all of the models, and you can see they actually don't really go into La Nina territory. They stay pretty much on that zero line, which indicates probably closer to a neutral ENSO in the forecast here for the JAMS Tech. Speaking of the JAMS Tech, here's their temperature, their air temperature anomalies for, this is December, January, February, which is our meteorological winter, and really it's a mess. It's a mess. It's calling for above average temperatures everywhere. That's not really going to be the case. So as of right now, it's too early for this model to predict that. But in our precipitation anomalies, I think this has some useful information here. Again, remember what I showed on the usual La Nina winter? This is very similar. We see dry conditions down there for the southern United States, as well as the southwest and the southeast. And then the Pacific Northwest, the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley dealing with above average precipitation. So this looks very similar to what I just showed. Also, let's get into NOAA's prediction as of right now. Take this with a huge grain of salt. They usually don't do very good this far out whatsoever. But we do see that they are calling for warmer than normal conditions there for the East Coast and also the entire southern United States. They're similar to what I showed in a typical La Nina. Their precipitation forecast looks pretty similar to a La Nina as well, seeing the northern Rockies through the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Great Lakes all seeing above average precipitation. Looks familiar, right? So they're having pretty similar thoughts to what I'm thinking as far as the ENSO as of right now. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed this Winter Thoughts video. For today's comment of the day, we have Red Eden. I asked you guys what you think for our subtropical or tropical storm we have. You can read through this as I'm talking, but it's a pretty lengthy post, and I really like what he had to say. I think it's a pretty good analysis of what we have going on down there for the southeastern United States and north of the Bahamas here this upcoming weekend and early next week. I hope you guys really enjoyed the Winter Thoughts videos. I know a lot of people, the last time I did it, were like, it's way too early, way too early. We're really just talking about very broad topics and just kind of going over the discussion of what's happening this upcoming winter and what the models are thinking. This is by no means a forecast, and I think I've done a pretty nice job of choosing my words here during this video to make sure that it's very broad and everybody knows this is only a discussion. We're only talking about the very, very early thoughts on the models and also the current conditions. And really, it can translate to what will happen, but we don't know for sure. And I'm going to be making these monthly or even more often than monthly so we can continue to watch as the prediction evolves for what's upcoming this winter. Hopefully, that's very easy to understand. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.